My name is Anna Otto. I was not born in Memphis, but have been here since I was 7, so I claim it. When Ali first asked me to share a wilderness story, my text was an immediate response. Do you mean actual wilderness because I have been to the jungle? Or do you mean like wilderness in like of the soul? And he did inform me that it was of the soul, which that's, much more relevant to most of us. In looking through, I kind of feel like I'm full of wilderness stories, with actual just bouts of depression and, struggling with fertility or alcoholism, or even just, the regular heartbreaks of leaving a country before I was ready, or of being torn down by a boss, for their own means. There's a lot of moments where I felt alone or felt like I wasn't able to get through something on my own, or where I've really gone, all right, God, I don't know what's going on. So it was hard for me to select one thing because there are so many things. But what was cool about that is being able to reflect on what do I ultimately go back to in all of those situations. And so I'm a big fan of Oswald Chambers. I don't think that's a surprise to anybody because I think anytime I talk in front of the church, I bring up Ozzy, as I like to call him. And it wasn't until much later that I realized what set of passages this particular, day I had read of Oswald Chambers came from and what that actually meant. And it's even more helpful now that I have the rest of that knowledge. But even back, when I was leaving Venezuela, and like I said, that was one of my first big heartbreaks, was leaving somewhere when I didn't think that I was ready. And it's still very real. That was, almost 15 years ago now. And if I talked about it for longer, I could still cry. Reading, from Oswald, God has got you, absolutely. He will give you your life. And I didn't necessarily, like I said, understand where that came from. But now understanding that it comes from a series of passages in Jeremiah, and it's Jeremiah 45, and it's really not pleasant. The set of passages, that particular passage is not pleasant, but it's where Jeremiah is prophesying to all the people who God said, all right, dude, you're a prophet. Congratulations, we're talking judgment. And so it's through this whole series of judgments being delivered through Jeremiah by God. And so the passage there goes on to say that I'm plucking up what I have planted. I'm destroying things. But at the end of that, I will give you your life as a prize of war, or as a prey. And so that doesn't, like I said, seem super pleasant. But I continue to go back to that place where at the end of all of this, what I have is my life. And what God decides to do with that is what God decides to do with that. Now, having gone through those things, I'm in a place where, again, let's say I love my job, right? I'm now happy where I am. I have a patient person who loves me. I have medication and therapy for that depression. That doesn't mean that those things don't still come up in my life. And so I like to be able to go back to that really strangely not super pleasant passage and remember at the end of all of that, at the end of that wilderness that I'm in the thick of, there is still a God who is going to continue to give me my life. I'm not a finished person. None of us are. And so continuing to be reminded that I continue to get that back. That continues to be a gift, even if it doesn't feel like it. And God continues to guide me, even if he feels like he's far away. I'm not a person who really likes when people respond to tragedy with religious speak or God speak unless there's action behind it. So when I say something like this, I'm really cognizant of the fact that if there's somebody who's in a depression, or if there's somebody who's in a time that is really hard for them, they're in the wilderness of the soul for themselves, what I'm saying may not be super heard or may not really land. But God does have you, absolutely. God does have me, absolutely. And He will continue to give us our lives and continue to surprise us with what's next, even when we don't feel like we can move forward. Being able to go back to that and see how God has moved me forward through a lot of those things. Through, like just taking a moment of like through infertility. We don't have what we thought we wanted. But now I can hug somebody else's baby and do that with joy and not break down crying. Where I thought maybe that would never happen, or I can trust my boss again, where I thought that may never happen. But at the end of the day, it's abandonment to God and His plan, and the reminder that He does absolutely have me in His grasp, that I'm really able to do anything. That's it. That was the last part. Yeah, that you had to keep that in. Keep that in.